What's up, everybody? It's the Bipolar Prophet, and welcome back to Old Ridge Farm and Farming Simulator 15. It's another long day here at Old Ridge. Left drummered yesterday at about, well, later than I wanted to. I wanted to really catch the 6:30 plane. Didn't end up catching, had to wait till the 8:15 flying out. Didn't get back into Old Ridge after going through security, after, you know, the drive down and everything. Didn't get back to Old Ridge till about 11:30. And now, it's, as you can see, it's 9:30 in the morning, and we're still spraying slurry. I really need to get Perry a GoPro, or a couple of GoPros and some mounts to mount on his stuff, so that I get some footage of what they're doing when I'm not there, you know. They're seeding. They've got a lot of seeding to do. So, and I will be going back tomorrow. I will be here all day today at Old Ridge, hopefully getting the slurrying done. I'll be going back tomorrow to help out with that as well. And we have a couple of meetings. So, anyway, might as well jump in the truck. Well, let's get everything turned on first. It's early and I'm tired. It's not particularly early. I mean, I've been up for a while, obviously, but it's been one of those days. You know, there's a lot of flying back and forth, obviously, with this, and it isn't going to be like that forever. You know, I'm only really there now to sort of help out, to keep an eye on things. Am I going to hit this tree? Yes, I am. And to take care of any business things that I'm responsible for. You know, things like paying for things, signing checks, and all that other stuff. Molly's aunt and uncle off to Spain, left last night, I guess. They left after I did, actually. They must have had a pretty late flight, flying off to Spain, you know. Can we hit every tree, though? That'd be awesome. Thank you. I didn't line this up very well. Can you tell? Still. Okay, you know what? We're going to fold it up, then. We'll go forward a little bit. We'll clear the trees. I go back and forth about whether I want to cut these trees down or not, but I just really don't, you know. If I start cutting down a bunch of trees, it's going to cut into my eco payments, you know, my environmental payments and everything, and I don't want to do that, so. There we go. And we'll just freehand it around the corner. But, yep, Aunt and Uncle are off to Spain. They said 3 weeks, but, you know, and of course, you know, the Molly's uncle's a farmer. He doesn't want to be gone too long from his farm. You know, even though he has made it absolutely clear that the farm is Perry and Molly's. You know what I mean? But I would expect, now I haven't got a phone call from him yet, but I expect I would. I would expect Perry will get a few phone calls. You know, it's a transitional period. Whenever you pass the main operations of anything like this, whether it be a farm, whether it be a business, from one person to another, you're always got that in the back of your head, like, I wonder what's going on, I need to check it out, right? Okay, you know, I'm not too worried about it. He doesn't seem too worried about it. I know Molly's aunt was like, let's go to Spain. So she was thrilled that they were finally going to get some time off. This will be another episode of a lot of driving back and forth, you know, filling up the slurry tanker. So I have to go in the back way now because obviously I don't own the pig and beef facility anymore, or the beef facility, which this juts out onto. So I don't own that anymore, so I can't drive through their property anymore. Although, to be fair, I'm sure I probably could. I just choose not to, you know. And I have a track that goes back to the main road anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. This will be the last slurry we put on this before we cut it, so probably, 10 days or so before we're cutting. Maybe a little late, but, you know, we didn't get... It's all about moisture, right? And although we get enough to get us through, we don't get an overabundance of it. It hasn't been a particularly rainy spring. So, up to this point anyway, it's been pretty dry. So, you know, the grass is probably a little bit behind where it should be, which is why normally I wouldn't put this last slurry application on, but we have the slurry. We definitely have the slurry. And because it's been a little dry, I said, you know, let's go ahead and put the slurry down. So, and of course, once we cut, we'll slurry them again. You know, we'll hopefully get 4 cuts this year like we normally do. That's all going to depend on the weather and the rain, and you know, and how well the grass is established and everything. A lot of this grass is new. You guys remember that I spent a good part of the winter plowing up meadows and replanting them. So, now the only thing about coming this way is I invariably catch this bridge. It's a very narrow turn to come out of there, but no, we did it. Okay. I want to check on the calves at some point today too. We're having a pretty good crop of calves, so we've had 2 born already, healthy, you know. So obviously all the heifers have been inseminated, so they'll all be calving at some point or another over the next few months. Some calves in the pens. You'll have to forgive me if I don't talk a whole bunch. Couple of things. First off, you know, the story. Obviously, I'm tired, you know, all the flying back and forth. Second of all, in real life, I don't know what's been going on with me lately. It's not that, you know, you guys who know me, and you guys who have been with me for a long time, been with the channel for a long time, know that I go through cycles, and I say this pretty much every video lately, it seems like, but it's not that I lose my motivation, it's that I sit down to record and something will go wrong or something will happen and I'll just be like, ugh, you know, and then I have to build up the sort of interest in recording again. Now, you know, I say this all the time and I absolutely mean it when I say it. I love making videos, you know. I was watching some videos for some big YouTubers who were doing a fair bit of whining about YouTube losing losing advertisers. And I didn't even know this. This is how much I pay attention to this stuff. Apparently, YouTube lost 250 of its biggest advertisers. Now, what does that mean to BP? Absolutely nothing. You know why? Because for the tiny bit of ads that I get on my videos, everybody uses ad block anyway, right? So I'm not making any money. Just to be completely transparent and completely honest with you guys, I will tell you how much money I have made in the last 6 months on YouTube. I have made $4.73. in 6 months. Okay. You know what I mean? If I did it for that, I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? If you depend on YouTube for your livelihood, well, you might want to rethink what you're doing, because you're never gonna make enough money to live off of on YouTube. Especially if you do pokey farm sim, you know, rambly pokey farm sim videos like I do, right? Or if you play, you know, games with your friends and they're not, you know, particularly polished or slick or anything. You know, if you don't do it for fun, then, you know, I guess you probably want to rethink what you're doing. I could care less. I mean, you know, I'll probably make no money. I'll probably make $0.00 this month from YouTube because of the advertiser thing. Okay, whatever. I don't care, you know. I mean, I have the Patreon page, and you guys are always, you know, welcome to go check that out and see if there's anything on there that you're interested in. You know, reward tier-wise, and that's all going to start up on the 1st of May. But I don't do it for the money, you know what I mean? I don't look at my analytics and go, oh, I made 0 money this month, so I'm not going to make any videos. No, that's stupid. I went months and months and months and months and months and months of the beginning of this channel and never made a dime. I don't do it for that. I do it because I love playing Farm Sim, I love playing games, I love hanging out with my friends, I love interacting with you guys, you know. So if you use ad block, use it. It's cool. Don't worry about it, you know what I mean? If it costs me 50 cents, whatever, you know what I mean? If I go back to making no money from YouTube, then I go back to making no money from YouTube. You know, the only thing that sort of affects sometimes is my ability to provide other services. You guys know that I've closed down the Farm Sim server. Now, I didn't close it because I couldn't afford to pay for it. I closed it because the people running it, the company that had running it, I mean, you know, to be BP about it, were massive idiots. They didn't have the faintest clue what they were doing. They had no idea what was going on when it come to Farm Sim. You know, every time there was an update, they wouldn't ever get on it for, you know, it would take them a week to even realize there was an update. Their support system was absolutely horrible. I had enough of them. We are looking at alternatives to that. Because at the very least, even if I don't have any other servers, I want a Farm Sim server. So, B, come on, BP, figure out your brain here. Figure out what you want to do. B, thank you. Oh, do I have to lower this? And then turn it on. There we go. Jeez, come on, BP. Actually, turn it off. Yes, that will do just nicely. Thank you. Now we can turn it back on. Oh, some days, BP, some days. But yeah, I always want to have a farm sim server for the simple reason that I like playing farm sim with you guys. You know what I mean? But I want a company that knows what they're doing, that respects the fact that farm sim is a game that a lot of people play, millions of people play. You know, and not be so just completely obtuse about it. You know what I mean? As far as maybe the Minecraft and the Space Engineer server goes, not a lot of people play on those. You know, and I sort of did that as a way for maybe the guys from the Monkey Show to kind of hang out more and play different games together. I'll probably keep them up. Minecraft is a lot of fun, and I have a sort of belief when it comes to games that require servers. I've already paid for the game. Now I'm paying for the server, right? So I'm basically paying for the game twice. Well, I'm going to use it. You know what I mean? So those are going to stay there. You know, until such time when I say, well, nobody's been on it in months, and why am I carrying it? You know, and those would be the things that would maybe get affected by my sort of lack of YouTube revenue, right? You know, I mean, let's face it, I don't make enough money from YouTube to pay for those things, you know, out of YouTube money anyway, so it's all pretty much paid for out of my own pocket, you know, which is fine. You know, I would never ever, and I know a lot of people do this on Patreon, and I know it's a viable thing on Patreon, but I would never ever say to you guys, if you want to play on the servers, you got to donate so much money a month. That's not me. That's not what I do. And I've said that over and over and over again. So anyway, back to Old Ridge. What's been going on Old Ridge? Not very much. Not very much. Although I have seen... Now, I drive down the road up behind my new dairy extension there to come back from the airport. So, all right, you can stop right there. That would be fine. So... Did I leave my beacons on? No, I didn't. I should just leave them on so I don't forget to turn them off. Yeah, I drive down the road behind the dairy extension to get back to the farm from the airport. So I've seen that they've been doing a fair bit of work over there. You know, apparently the Old Ridge, whatever it's called, and I can't think of it right now because my brain is still not fully engaged, has been pretty busy getting stuff built over there. Now, they've moved a lot of equipment over there. I know they've been doing a fair amount of digging over there. In fact, they were wanting to blast over there, from what I understand. And Mike was telling me that they were looking to blast. And I was like, well, they're not blasting that close to my dairy. They're not. They're not going to scare my cows. You know what I mean? They're not going to terrify my cows so they don't milk. They're not going to terrify my calves, you know, so that I have calves and cows running all over the place, you know, just being in a state. So, now, obviously, they have to get some kind of permit to blast over there. I haven't heard anything more from Mike about it. But if they look for a permit, I'm going to fight that tooth and nail, because they're not going to be blasting up there. I guess they want to level the cliff down a little bit, sort of square it off so they can butt houses up against it, make it a real pretty area or whatever. As far as the digging and stuff goes, I don't care. They do whatever they want, you know what I mean? But I don't want to blast it. That's too close to my dairy, and I'm not having it, so... And I'll fight them, you know, and if Crawford Brown wants to put up a fight, well, let's go. I'm ready, so... Regardless of what, you know, I don't know exactly what they think sometimes. Well, I never know what they think, because who knows what the Crawford Browns think. But I know, you know, you hear from other people that know them that, you know, they have this just vendetta against farming. First of all, I mean, I get that, you know, that they're, you know, born and bred in this area or whatever, right? You'd think this has always been a farming area. You'd think that they would just sort of accept that as the way it is. But for some reason, they look at all this green grass and all these pretty trees and all these rivers and all these fields as just opportunities to make money. You know, I've been in the Old Ridge area now for going on 4 years. I've been here quite a while. You know, I contribute to the local economy, right? I've got a big dairy. I spend a lot of money in this area. I spend a lot of money on equipment. I spend a lot of money on feed. I spend a lot of money on vets. I spend a lot of money on inspections. I spend a lot of money on taxes. I spend a lot of money on permits. You know, so I think I have a voice in the community as far as that goes. Now, obviously, because I'm not a British citizen, I can't vote on things. But I think I should, and I don't know this for certain, I'd have to ask them, like, but I think I'm allowed to petition the council when it directly affects me. And them trying to blast over there directly affects me. And I'll tell you what, you know, the amount of equipment they're moving over there is pretty substantial, which means they're looking to build a pretty big, I don't know what it's going to be, some kind of resort, I guess, for people to come out of the city and hang out in the country. And that's great, and I have no problem with that. But you know what? If you want to come out to the country, come out to a farm. You know, see what goes on out here, you know, instead of just trying to bulldoze it all flat and, you know, put houses up on it. And for people who've never seen a cow, who've never seen a farm, who've never seen a tractor, who've never seen a farmer, you know, to see what we do and why we do it and how important it is that we continue to do it. Let's face it, a lot of farms went out during the milk crisis. And I'm not saying the milk crisis is over, because it's not. But it is substantially better than it has been for a long time. A lot of farms could not continue to sustain their herds, to continue to sustain their operations, because milk was so cheap. And a lot of these farms are going to get turned into housing estates and, you know, and apartment complexes and warehouses and things like that. And I don't want to see my farm get turned into that. I will fight tooth and nail. I will scrape and scrounge and beg and whatever I have to do to keep my herd, you know, healthy and alive and fed, to keep my operation going. And the Crawford Browns could be damned. I know they're all about, and I've heard it in the pub the last couple of, you know, weeks, about how they're so proud of themselves, how they're building a great big yacht club, I guess, somewhere off further down in the valley on the river. They're so proud of themselves. Oh, it's going to bring all the correct people, is the words that I hear, into the valley. You know, they're going to want to move here, and they're going to need houses, and we're going to need more land. And I know they're circulating around again with their representatives looking to buy up land that maybe guys aren't using. You know, there's a couple of other dairy farms in the area that are sort of hanging on by a thread, you know, like I am. You know, and they know better than to come to me. They know better than to come to me, because I am not selling. I will not sell. So they're going to have to. The only way they get this land from me is if they push me off it. So this is what happens when BP gets tired. He sometimes gets a little grumpy. So, but I think I'm allowed to be grumpy. It's been, you know, it's not that it's a constant everyday, you know, life or death struggle with the Crawford Browns, because it's not. It's not that, you know what I mean? But it is enough of an inconvenience in my life that when stuff, and you start to see patterns with them, you start to see this is what they want to do, you know, and this is what they're doing. I'm just going to freehand this, I think, from now on. You know, it's very obvious that they're looking to buy up as much land as they possibly can. You know, I know Mike's not going to sell to them. I know that, you know. Cuthbert has sort of gotten over his, I don't know, infatuation with the Crawford Browns, you know what I mean? Kind of saw them for what they are. He's really turned it around and become, you know, a serious, full-time, going at it as hard as he can farmer. And I'm thrilled with that, you know what I mean? I may have been the first guy to give Cuthbert a break, but, you know, he turned it around, and he's doing fine, and I'm pretty sure he's not going to sell. I know the Major has told the Crawford Brown on numerous times, come up my drive again and find out what happens. So, but it's just a lot of the sort of open land that doesn't belong to anybody, that may belong to the council, or maybe held in lieu for you know, for other people and stuff, that I worry about. You know, I don't want a city of very expensive houses growing up around my farm. You know what I mean? Now, it's not my land, and I can't do anything about it. But the thing I worry most about is not the fact that the houses will be there. I worry about the fact that what are the people who move into the houses going to want? You know what I mean? Are they going to want a dairy farm? Are they going to want, you know, big, dusty, smelly tractors driving around, you know, on the edges of their property? You know, and to be fair, if they don't, I don't care. You know what I mean? If this is my land, it's my land, and I'm going to farm it, you know. I would hate to see a bunch of regulation, a bunch of new laws passed that says we can't do this and we can't do that and everything else, you know. It just makes me nervous. The trend of what I'm seeing makes me very, very nervous. I'm just driving up here to make sure that I didn't leave too big of a gap up here in the headland. I don't think I did, but we'll hit it one more time just to make sure. Soil-wise, this grass is in pretty good shape, so I'm not unhappy about that. At some point, I really need to clean up this tree. I had to cut this tree back a little ways, and I haven't done anything with it since then. It's been there for like a year. I really need to clean it up. Oh. Okay, I think I'm going to go refill, and we'll do the pig meadow. because the pig meadow is very small. So, good thing about this is I'm moving all this slurry, which needs to be moved anyway, because I have a bunch more that I need to get pumped into the one of the big retention tanks, and I don't have the room for it right now. So, yeah, I'll go refill. We'll go do the pig meadow, and then we'll call this an episode. Actually, no, we'll do the pig meadow. We'll come back, and I want to check on the calves and see how the new additions are doing. Oh. On the next episode, we will be spraying herbicide on the barley. It'll still be today, the same day. But the next farm sim video you guys see will be... no, actually, you'll probably see 2 episodes of this. What I'm trying to do here, and I'm still kind of struggling with the back and forth thing. What I'm trying to do is trying to do a couple of days in Old Ridge and a couple of days at Drummond, right? You know, or a couple of episodes, I should say, because it's basically going to be the same day. Probably once everything gets seeded up there at Drummond, I won't need to be there as often, so I can kind of focus on what's going on here. Because I got sugar beets I need to get in the ground at some point. Pretty quickly, actually, if I want to get a decent sugar beet crop, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go help Perry finish up his seed. I mean, he's got a lot of it to do. We're calling in, you know, we're calling in neighbors. We're calling in the uncles. Molly's cousins. Molly's cousin Blake showed up with a very cool 1455 XL. Apparently, that family has a thing for 1455 XLs. This one was a little newer. Straight pipe, loud. Oh my God, it's loud. It makes a great noise though. He showed up with it and said, you know, I'm here to help. What can I do? So that was fantastic. Let's see. Get the pump turned on. There we go. How much is actually left in this thing? Oh, we're down to under half. Good. Excellent. That's fantastic. We're going to look at it here. Good, good, good. You know, slurry, making slurry and using slurry are never problems here in Old Ridge. We make a ton of it. We use a ton of it. So, well, tons and tons and tons of it. So. I might, because I have so much of it, I might spray it down on the sugar beet fields and run the power harrow over them, just to get them, you know, sort of broken up as good as possible so I can plant sugar beets in them. In fact, I think I'll do that. That'll probably, because I've only got 2 more meadows to do. So if I were to go and spray slurry on the sugar beet meadows and then cultivate that all in, or power harrow it all in, I should say, I will probably use up the last of what's in that tank, and that would be great, because then I'd have a completely empty tank to pump out my main pit over at the dairy, which I'm going to need to do pretty soon. Excuse me, girl. It seems like the pregnant heifers are much more like they don't really want to be with the rest of the herd. They don't want to hang out in the center of the field. They find their own spots, right? Which makes sense, you know. They're probably a little uncomfortable. They don't want to be bothered. See, it's land like this on either side of us here, like, you know, this field and this field over here, that make me nervous. It makes me wish I could buy them. You know, I've sort of, and Perry laughed at me when I said this, but I have sort of made myself a rule that I will not go borrow any more money. I have been borrowing money since I have been in Old Ridge. Now, I'm still in debt, you know, but not nearly as much as I was. This is sort of just seasonal debt that you carry every year. Debt for seeds, debt for fertilizer, you know, stuff like that. You run a fuel tab at the fuel station, things like that. Just small things. I don't see myself going to the bank and saying I would like to borrow another £1 million and buy up all the land around me to avoid it being turned into houses. I don't know that that particular business plan would sell well with the bank, but that's what I'd like to do. If I had the money, I would absolutely buy up all the land. You know, at least the land right around me. I don't know, you know. I don't know. That's something that I think about a lot, you know, because it makes me nervous. And it's not that I'm, you know, particularly antisocial. It's not that I don't want people around me. I just don't want people that are going to be like, oh, I don't want that dirty, dusty tractor driving down the road, you know, at 6 o'clock in the morning, making a lot of noise and scaring my cats. And, you know, listen, you know, this is farming. This is what we do here. So, you know, we didn't move into the city and, you know, tell you to stop you know, go to the pub till 2 o'clock in the morning, or going, you know, running your subway trains and stuff. We didn't do any of that. You know what I mean? You're coming to our part of the world, and you're telling us that, you know, well, and I shouldn't say they are, because they're not yet, but, you know, there's a potential for them to tell us what we can do in our own land. And I just, it makes me very, very nervous. And when BP gets nervous, he tends to get sort of defensive and aggressive, you know what I mean? So, now I don't see Mr. Crawford Brown very often. I hardly ever see Mrs. Crawford Brown. I saw her in the grocery store a couple of weeks ago, which I was surprised to see her and not one of her, you know, assistants in there doing the grocery shopping. But she was in there, you know. I nodded to her, you know. I try to be civil as much as I can be, considering the nonsense that she put me through when the cult was still a thing, and she was trying to tell me, you know, that I didn't belong here, I was an American, and I should go back to America, and all this other stuff. Plus, I'm not married, you know, and you know, so I don't really have a whole lot of talking to do to her. Mr. Crawford Brown, I don't have a lot of talking to do either. When I was dealing with Old Ridge Financial Holdings, I wasn't talking to him, obviously. He's just one more principal in that company, so I see him on occasion. You know, we don't drink in the same places, we don't eat in the same places, so. Mike, on the other hand, has to deal with them pretty regularly, you know, which is unfortunate, but I just, my biggest fear, and this, a lot of us have said this, is that they've been really quiet for a very long time. Due to the cult, due to the scandal with the affairs that Crawford Brown had, and to be fair, is still having. Due to the possibility that they might get divorced, although Mrs. Crawford Brown could never, ever live with that. She would never have that in her, you know, on her sort of social list of things, right? You know, you know, divorcee, no, that wouldn't fly with her. All right. Oh, I really need to do this last strip. Okay, I'll probably do that off screen. I don't want to leave that last bit, because it does make a difference, believe it or not. So, especially since this meadow's in pretty good shape, because this meadow was just recently planted. The grass came up fantastic, so we nailed that just at the right time. You know what? I think this would make a pretty nice screenshot, actually. What do you guys think? Shut the tractor off, though. So, what are you doing? No, I didn't ask you to do any of that. Stop. Fold that back up. I hit Alt-H, and it my Alt button is a little screwy, so it actually decided it wanted to hire a worker. Like a worker was going to do anything with this. Let's see. See, that's pretty with the trees and everything. Yeah, let's do that. So, but yeah, you know, like I said, I don't deal with Crawford Brown on a regular basis, so it's just all of this. They've been quiet for too long. Secondly, they're too money hungry to sit still for too long. Third, if they can get a lot of what they consider their people in the area, you know what I mean? It'll definitely change the balance of power that we have going on in the area, all of which I could care less about, except for the fact that it's going to affect me and my friends. And it's the bottom line, you know what I mean? And that's what makes me nervous. So we'll be keeping an eagle eye, as they say, on the Crawford Browns as we go into spring and as this construction over there on the other side of the hill continues. As always, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. You know, a little bit more story this time, because I actually had something to talk about. So the next episode of the next episode of Farm Sim you'll see will be Old Ridge. We will be spraying fertilizer on our barley, spraying herbicide, I'm sorry, on our barley, because we got to get the weeds down. I need a good barley crop, you know, to make some money. And then, of course, when that comes up, we'll be planting corn. As always, let me know what you think. If you have any tips, suggestions, comments, anything like that, you know, you're always welcome to leave them. I'd love to hear from them. Any comments on anything I've talked about, you know, if you guys have an opinion on it, by all means, please leave it in the comments. I love to read that stuff. I love to reply to it. Make sure to check me out on the Patreon page, Bipolar Profit Gaming on Patreon. Think about maybe bankrolling the monkey show, as I like to call it, you know what I mean, for as little as $1 a month or as much as $20 a month, and there's various reward tiers in between. And if you do, fantastic. If you don't, hey, that's cool too. I still love to see you guys come and watch the videos and enjoy what you see, and that means everything to me. As always, make sure to check out everybody in the Monkey Show list. Their links to everything are in the description of every video I make. Those are the guys you hear in the back of the live streams. They all stream as well. They're all great, great friends of mine, and my life would not be the same without them. And thank you to each and every one of them. And as always, thank you to each and every one of you. Without you, I do none of this. I say it every video, but that's because that's what it means to me. I do none of this. I don't get to do this. And thank you so very, very much. You guys are amazing. And I'm so proud and humbled to be a part of this amazing community, no matter what anybody else says. Don't let anybody fool you. This is the real Farm Sim community, and we are the shit. Bottom line, thank you so very, very much. And as always, this is the Bipolar Prophet saying, see you later.